tonight.
That is helping families with the costs of everything from food or fuel to rent.
While visiting Saskatchewan, the Prime Minister says we will continue to get the carbon rebate despite the government's refusal to remit. Also, who knew what, when? A look at how the provincial government handled the pandemic's deadly fourth wave. Plus, as early season wildfires spark up, we hear concerns about people who refuse to evacuate.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Tuesday, April 23rd, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening and thanks for joining us. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau was in Saskatoon today to highlight his government's recent budget. But the biggest news came after his formal event. He told reporters that Saskatchewan people will still receive the full carbon rebate, even though we're no longer paying the tax on home heating. Jason Warwick has more.
That is helping families with the costs of everything from food or fuel to rent.
That's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau near Saskatoon. And that help, he says, comes from federal carbon rebates. The Saskatchewan government stopped collecting the carbon tax on home heating at the start of the year, then announced it wouldn't remit the carbon tax to Ottawa either. So it's been unclear whether Saskatchewan families would get the rebate checks. Speaking to reporters, Trudeau promised the full rebate checks would continue to flow to Saskatchewan people.
Despite the disagreement I have with the provincial government here in Saskatchewan on them not wanting to pay the federal government what is owed, the Canada carbon rebate checks going to families in Saskatchewan will not be impacted by the government of Saskatchewan's decision.
Trudeau also said the Canada Revenue Agency would find ways to collect the tax.
No, I don't feel worried.
The minister responsible for Sask Energy says he's not sure how the CRA will get its hands on the money, and it won't change the province's opposition to the tax.
The federal government giving back the people of Saskatchewan the money that they've collected from them on the carbon tax, I think, from that standpoint, I think it's a good thing. Our view is still that they shouldn't be collecting it in the first place.
Now the rebate checks have also become fodder for scoring political points.
The Prime Minister and I think Cabinet felt that it wouldn't be fair for the people of Saskatchewan to pay for the irresponsible attitude of the provincial government.
He fielded questions on a wide range of topics, from gun control to home ownership to the Middle East conflict. He was also asked about his government's proposed changes to the capital gains tax. He says that will only affect people making profits of more than $250,000 in a given year. He says he makes no apologies for this policy. People in those situations need to pay their fair share.
I understand there are those who've been very, very successful off the way the system used to be, who don't want to see the system changed. But this is about intergenerational fairness. It's also about making sure our economy succeeds into the future.
Trudeau also highlighted recent budget announcements affecting Indigenous communities. Those include a $5 billion loan program for Indigenous businesses, as well as new spending on infrastructure, language revival, and other programs. Jason Warwick, CBC News, near Saskatoon.
Did the government of Saskatchewan make the right decisions during the COVID-19 pandemic? A joint investigation by CBC News and the Investigative Journalism Foundation is providing the public with the best insight yet into the decision-making by provincial officials. Alexander Kwant reports.
So we made the decisions that we did with the information we had.
That's how Premier Scott Moe recently described Saskatchewan's handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. But recently obtained documents show that may not have been the case back in the fall of 2021. Journalists have long been trying to understand the government's response to the COVID-19 pandemic, and much of our information has come from Freedom of Information requests. Many of those requests are just now starting to be released. And these new documents, just 6 pages, were not handed over for more than 2.5 years. Here is what they show. Internal government projections describe Saskatchewan as experiencing exponential spread of COVID-19 through August 2021. The documents were provided to those leading the province's COVID-19 response. That would be then Health Minister Paul Merriman or his Deputy Minister Max Hendricks. The data and potentially these exact slides were available to health experts, including Dr. Corey Neudorf. At the time, he was a medical health officer with the Saskatchewan Health Authority.
What you hope is that the information you're giving is being heard.
As the start of the school year approached in 2021, there was a growing concern from health experts. They worried about the lack of safety measures, and internally, officials were urging the province to take action. But as August wore on, nothing was done. That's when Dr. Neudorf and several other Saskatchewan medical professionals signed an open letter calling for health measures to be implemented.
Effectiveness of an intervention goes down once the situation is out of control. So that's why we wanted action earlier. Any delay in implementation just meant the situation was going to be longer to get under control.
But the health minister refused to enforce masking or any kind of vaccination mandates, and it would not be until mid-September that the province would announce mandatory masking and other health measures in indoor spaces. Paul Merriman was not made available for an interview, and a statement provided by the Ministry of Health did not answer any questions we submitted. But recently, the Premier spoke about how decisions were made.
In a time when I don't think anyone had a lot of answers. And so what I truly hope coming out of the last pandemic is that we don't have to face those types of questions and that type of a situation again.
These documents were provided to those leading the COVID response back on September 3rd, 2021. Over the course of the next year, more than 900 people would die from COVID-19 in Saskatchewan. Alexander Kwan, CBC News, Regina.
More concerns today in the legislature around lobbyists. The opposition says California-based Crumb Rubber Manufacturing hired former Sask Party Finance Minister Kevin Doherty to lobby the Premier. Months later, the company was awarded a contract for tire recycling in Saskatchewan. Earlier this month, similar concerns were raised about a Calgary-based surgery company that received a $6 million contract. Doherty, also one of its lobbyists. The NDP's leader says that's concerning.
Handing this contract to an American company when a Saskatchewan company was already doing the work, well, Mr. Speaker, it raises a lot of eyebrows. Even more so when we look at the lobbyist registry and see again Kevin Doherty registered to lobby for this American company that got this lucrative contract.
Premier Moe says the U.S.-based company went through a request for proposal process. Tire Stewardship of Saskatchewan handles recycling contracts and the bidding process for the province, which includes the proposal process in question. Its CEO says there was no involvement of a lobbyist in the selection process. Group home workers at Luther Care Communities homes are threatening to strike. The space is home to people with intellectual and physical disabilities in Saskatoon. Its union says the workers are underpaid and overworked. The union says Luther Care needs to come forward with a fair deal before Wednesday night. It's looking for at least 3% increase to wages for each year in the deal and better work hours. If not, workers will refuse recreational transport for the people they look after.
The fact that people are working shorter and shorter shifts, but longer and longer days in a row, that's a safety issue. That's a safety issue for our members, but it's also a safety issue for the residents, because if you're tired, if you're unable to, focus, that impacts the care you're able to provide.
In a statement, Luther Care Communities says they believe the company offered a fair package, which includes a wage increase and signing bonus. It also says they can't offer every weekend off, but the schedules ensure workers are eligible for 2 days off each week. Saskatchewan has started the process of acquiring new planes for its firefighting fleet. This morning, we got a chance to see what that will look like at the Regina Airport. It's an example of one of the 4 planes that will cost about $187 million. The province's current fleet is approaching the end of its lifespan.
Where we are today is we have about 5 wildfires that are currently active, but each and every year we have a few hundred. I think it was 500 last year. I think the average is, if I'm not mistaken, is about 350 year in, year out. And so we do need to make these types of investments and keep the aircraft that we have current and ensure that we're keeping communities safe.
2 of the airplanes will be dedicated air tankers. The other 2 can function as air tankers or be converted for patient transport or air evacuations. The first aircraft is set to arrive next summer, the rest expected to land in Saskatchewan by the end of 2027. Last year, Alberta experienced an unprecedented wildfire season that saw a number of forced evacuations. And despite the danger, some Albertans refused to leave their properties. But with the 2024 wildfire season now underway, there's hope things will be different this year. Paige Parsons explains.
This one directly in front of us was just born this morning.
It's calving season at Jens Jorgensen's farm near Wildwood, Alberta. It's also wildfire season.
Didn't matter what direction we looked, you could see smoke and fire.
About this time last year, Wildwood was under an evacuation order. As the flames drew closer, Jorgensen and his wife wanted to leave, but feared they wouldn't be allowed back to tend to their animals.
During that time, the power went out. Without power, there's no water. So our animals, if without us, would have had no water, no feed. I know we would have lost animals. So we said, no, we're not going to take that chance.
The wind was blowing and it just brought the fire over the river this way and continued down the path over here to the Ridgeview campground.
Farmers weren't the only ones defying evacuation orders. Wildfire ripped through this campground near Edson last year. The town itself was spared, but was evacuated twice for fire and a third time for flooding.
Some people did decide to stay at home for whatever reason.
In the years since, Mayor Kevin Zahara has spoken with people who refused to leave.
They just didn't feel like it was the right opportunity for them to leave at that point in time.
He says some residents didn't know about transportation and other supports available. That'll be addressed if there's another evacuation this year.
When people refuse to leave their properties during an evacuation order, it puts first responders in a difficult position.
Safety is the priority. We're trying to keep you safe.
If wildfire danger is imminent, officers have authority to remove children. There's more discretion when it comes to adults on their own property, but RCMP warned that the consequences of refusing to leave can be dire.
You don't want to comply. If you're a grown adult, you want to take care of it, good. Just make sure we have ways to contact your family and ways to identify you.
A provincial spokesperson says Albertans should follow official sources for information about evacuation orders. Jorgensen wants authorities to come up with a separate plan for farmers who need to care for their livestock. In the meantime, he's retrofitting this crop sprayer to be used for firefighting.
Nobody's going to protect our property once we're gone. And I can do everything in my power to protect it if I stay.
He's prepared to defy evacuation orders again, but hopes he won't need to. Paige Parsons, CBC News, Yellowhead County.
Spring temperatures, and yesterday some rain, but oh, we could use some more. Things are still pretty brown today in the Lumsden Valley. Still waiting for buds on trees and the grass to green up, and we are away from those days yet, but the temperatures might make it feel a little more like summer the next couple of days. Ethan will have more in your forecast after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Canada's ban on single-use plastic bags has had an unintended consequence. A whole lot of reusable bags now piling up in people's homes and eventually landfills. Big grocers are offering solutions, but as Sophia Harris reports, experts have concerns.
Like, seriously, it's never ending. Look at that.
Over the past 2 years, Udi and Natalie Sella have amassed hundreds of new reusable Walmart bags, all from grocery delivery.
What a waste. Really, it's a waste.
So the couple was happy to learn Walmart has launched a national pilot project where customers send by mail at no cost their unwanted reusable Walmart bags. The good ones are cleaned and sent to the food bank to be reused. Damaged bags get recycled.
Find some better way to store all this.
The Sellas have already signed up.
I definitely think it's a step in the right direction. I think it's something that needed to be done a while ago. God knows we've got a ton of bags kind of piled up.
But some experts aren't keen on Walmart's project because it doesn't stop customers from acquiring more of these.
We're drowning in them, and we shouldn't be. We're only meant to have a few of them, and we're meant to use them until they fall apart, essentially, in order to avoid things like this going to landfill.
Ever since Canada banned single-use plastic shopping bags a little over a year ago, reusable ones have been piling up.
This is how I store them.
The ban is being contested in court, but still remains in effect. Walmart says it's also exploring other solutions, including customers returning bags in the store. So what about other big grocers? Loblaw and Sobeys are delivering groceries in recyclable paper bags. But environmental expert Emily Alfred says that's not a solution.
What's the problem with paper bags?
We're not really stopping the wasteful system. Paper bags are made from trees. It requires logging, it requires water. There's a lot of environmental damage that happens upstream to make those paper bags.
Alfred likes what Grocer Metro offers. Customers can get groceries delivered in a returnable plastic bin. But that doesn't help in-store shoppers.
Piles of them. And
Alfred hopes the federal government will step in and mandate retailers find workable solutions for all customers to bring an end to this. Sophia Harris, CBC News, Toronto.
This weather update is brought to you by Mercedes-Benz Regina, proud member of the Capital Automotive Group.
I feel like I could have dressed in all the reusable bags that are in my house. I have so many. I completely identify with that last story, Ethan.
Yep.
And it's nice enough out that you could wear that fabric as clothing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's really warmed up through the province today. Of course, as we heard a little bit earlier in the show, though, that is posing some issues with the fire situation, not just, of course, as you heard in Alberta, but also here as well. We have 2 active fires at the moment in the province. Those are there's ongoing assessment happening with those right now. They're not out of control, but they are not contained at this point. One is just to the north of Melfort, kind of north of the James Smith Cree Nation, and then another one to the north of the Meadow Lake area as well. And worth noting here, in 2024 so far, we've had 38 fires in the province. The 5-year average is 9, so we've more than quadrupled that so far. And conditions, of course, very, very dry, and as a result, the fire danger rating for tomorrow has really spiked across, especially southern Saskatchewan. We're at the very highest level we can be at, and we're starting to see that pop up now in northern Saskatchewan too. So worth keeping an eye on that. The reason, of course, that level is increasing is because of this. There's nothing happening on our satellite and radar. It's been a very nice sunny day, very dry across the province, and we're not expecting much more of that moisture, at least in the next 24 hours or so here. Another nice day, a warm one, into the 20s likely through south and central tomorrow afternoon. The next best shot at moisture coming from this low, moving in on Thursday morning and kind of overnight Wednesday, which will bring some rain and possibly some heavier wet snow to portions of far northern Saskatchewan. That will leave Friday a bit of a mixed bag for us. Maybe some pop-up showers and increasing cloudiness through south and central, while the north will still be cloudy at times before we see clearing for the weekend. But until then, maybe 5 to 10 millimeters in far northern Saskatchewan. Just to the south of there, we're seeing some models picking up maybe 15 to 20 millimeters of rain. And of course, wet snow could be a part of this as well, which could be heavy at times, but likely going to be melting on contact. That low going to be picking up the winds. As tomorrow, maybe 40 gusting 50 in the south especially, and then still breezy through much of the province as we get into Thursday. Not good, of course, for the grass and wildfire situation as those winds start to pick up, but they'll be southerly winds, especially in the south. So that means warmer temperatures and warmer air keeps moving in. And that means that for Regina, our temperatures will likely be around 20 degrees these next couple of days. Again, there's that increasing cloudiness on Thursday before things clear out for the weekend for us. Temperatures drop a little bit into the weekend, but we're right back into the 20-degree territory by the time we start next week, and could still be a little bit breezy here and there. Saskatoon, normal for this time of year, around 14. We will well overshoot that and overshoot the normal for our overnight temperatures as well. Very similar forecast for you getting into next week again, back to 20-degree temperature with those winds. So yes, of course, the fire situation will be closely watching, Sam, but in the meantime, a nice few days ahead.
I think we should enjoy it while it lasts, as the terrified part of me worries about a very dry summer.
Yes, exactly.
All right, thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
While in Saskatoon, Prime Minister Trudeau also met with members of the Jewish community to celebrate Passover. The Jewish holiday began last night at sundown and goes until April 30th, which is next Tuesday. About 25 people sat around 3 tables at the Jewish Community Centre. Trudeau thanked the community for being welcome to their table. He also noted this year Passover is different because of the Israeli hostages kidnapped by Hamas. The Prime Minister told those in attendance that it's important they can feel fully and proudly Jewish in every aspect of their lives. We'll be back after the break. The U.S. Senate has voted to move ahead with a massive military aid package for Ukraine. The bill approving the long-awaited assistance will likely be signed by President Joe Biden by tomorrow. It comes as the Prime Minister of Britain announced a major commitment to Ukraine's war effort during a stop in Poland today. Abby Kuhadasan has the latest.
British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak says they can't rely on America to pay the price for security and defense. Today, he announced an additional £500 million in military aid to Kyiv. That's about 846 million Canadian dollars. It includes 1,600 strike and air defense missiles, including Storm Shadow long-range precision-guided missiles, as well as 400 vehicles, armored and all-terrain ones, as well as about 4 million rounds of small arms ammunition. Now, Ukraine got an even larger boost over the weekend. That's when the Republican-led House of Representatives passed a $60 billion aid package that had been stalled in Congress for months. And the U.S. President Joe Biden has already assured his counterpart, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, that this aid will be delivered quickly. And Ukraine is very much relying on this aid, as it is well known across Western capitals and across Ukraine that the war effort has not been going well in recent months, especially with Russia advancing on Donetsk. Now, aside from providing this further military aid and making that announcement out of Poland today, Rishi Sunak is also in Warsaw to stress the security ties with NATO allies like Poland. NATO countries very much concerned, of course, about Ukraine defending itself against Russia's invasion, but also concerned about deterrence.
So I'm proud of our record on defence and confident in our ability to deter our adversaries and ensure the security of the United Kingdom. But in a world that's the most dangerous it's been since the end of the Cold War, we cannot and must not be complacent.
The concern that Sunak outlined today is that Vladimir Putin has territorial ambitions beyond Ukraine. Abby Kuhadasan, CBC News, London.
And Ethan's back with one last look at your weather. It is my mom's birthday, so give her a good forecast.
Well, happy birthday, Marlene. And yes, here's a great forecast for you tonight. Clear skies, 3 degrees, light winds in Regina. We get into tomorrow morning, mostly sunny skies. Winds will pick up a little bit through the day. So you notice south gusting to 20, and then by the afternoon, close to 30, maybe some gusts near 40 at times. But already by the noon hour, we're at 17 degrees. Normal for this time of year, around 15 or so. Saskatoon, an even warmer night for you, 7 degrees there. We get into tomorrow morning and we see a little bit of increasing cloudiness, sun and cloud through the day. But as we head into the afternoon, we should start to see that clear away. Mostly sunny day, beating Regina by a degree at the noon hour, 18 under a little bit less breezy conditions. So yes, again, happy birthday, Marlene. Sorry I couldn't make it as warm as Saskatoon, but I tried my best, Sam.
Oh, she's going to be mad at me for that. Thanks, Ethan.
You're welcome.
And that is it for us tonight. For news anytime, head to cbc.ca/Sask. You can subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel, or you can download the CBC News app on your phone or tablet. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great night.